Welcome to Sunshine State of Mind. I'm Andy.
And I'm Shannon. Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm a little sore from yesterday, still.
Yes, you had quite an eventful day before your event even started.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned on the podcast that I got a kayak, and I was looking forward to going on all kinds of kayaking adventures and talking about them on the podcast. And I was really excited to talk about a kayaking adventure today because it was an inflatable kayak, and I know we've mentioned that some kayaking purists, they sort of scoff, oh, inflatable kayak.
Yes.
But
what was that?
Yeah, like the inflatable kayak. What is wrong with you?
Okay. Are the kayaking folks from France?
They're from
like a cartoon version of France.
That's my. I guess that's my stereotypical snob. You know who I'm picturing doing that? The guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Remember when they go to the restaurant?
Oh,
and
yeah.
The Sausage King of Chicago, Abe Froman. That guy with the little mustache.
Yes,
I'm picturing that guy.
Gotcha.
If there's such thing as a kayak snob, they kind of look down on inflatables for whatever reason. And I liked it a lot. I took it out a couple times, but then yesterday had this a fishing trip plan with a buddy of mine with his kayak, and I met him at his house early in the morning.
Yeah, which is a feat for you to get up that early.
We did. We loaded. We were going to go fishing in Tampa Bay around some mangrove areas.
It's a feat for me too. I'm not.
We're not morning people.
I'm not scoffing at him. I was still asleep when he left.
We're not morning people. But we got out there. We got the bait. We got out to the spot. We unload his kayak, load everything up. I'm sitting there inflating it. It inflates 2/3 of the way, and the third one was kind of leaky and soft and mushy. Yeah, and I was like, no, we came all this way, and we came all this way, and we had this whole thing planned, and his kayak was loaded.
Yeah, and your buddy's there with you with his non-inflatable
not
kayak.
His hard, his 98-pound one that he stuck in the back of his Ford F-150, which is the reason I got an inflatable, so I didn't have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we don't have a Ford F-150.
No, we both drive kind of small cars, and I didn't want to have to do that. Plus storage, but I mean, I'm not totally soured on inflatable kayaks. I'm sort of soured on this one, but I liked it the first couple times I took it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you did. I assume you stopped liking it once it deflated.
I was so sad and so mad, and so we had my buddy
and frustrated because your friend is with you, and he's like, "Let's go fishing together."
Yeah, and I was super excited,
and you were so excited. And
I've been wanting a fishing kayak for a long, long time, and finally, but I didn't want to have to put it on the roof, and I didn't want to have to take up a bunch of space in the garage that I don't have. So I thought this is perfect. And thankfully, he's a really cool guy because
he's super laid back. Yeah, really nice guy.
He was like, "Oh man, all right, it's fine." But he has a double kayak. He's got a tandem. So I said, well, what if I sit in the front and I'll just put my seat in this? But my seat didn't really fit in his kayak.
Yeah, because it was inflatable.
20 feet off the shore, and I almost fell in the water 3 times. I'm sitting here tipping and using all my balance.
I really wish I could have seen that.
I knew in every part of my soul I was going in the water. I knew I was going in. I'm like, okay, my phone is in the dry bag. My keys are back in his truck. I know if I fall in, what's the worst that's going to happen?
You're going to get wet.
Yeah, and then I said to him, like, dude, this isn't going to work. Why don't we just go to a place nearby and we'll rent a kayak, and I'll just rent one for the day and we'll go out.
Good choice.
And it was actually really cool that we did that. So we went to a place called Weedon Island Preserve, which is a really cool spot to it gives me a chance to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's
I haven't ever actually been out there.
You've never been? Have you been to the park before?
Did we? Is that where we went frisbee golfing one time?
No, but it's not far from there.
Okay. So no, I've never been there.
The frisbee golfing place you're thinking of is on the Tampa side of the Gandy Bridge.
Okay.
This is just on the St. Pete side of the Gandy Bridge. It's behind a power plant, and it's right next to Derby Lane Dog Track.
Okay. Yep. I know where you're talking about.
They don't really do dogs there anymore.
Yeah.
It's a really, really cool spot. Like a lot of mangroves, islands. You don't just have to go there for kayaking. There's a boardwalk you can walk around on and an observation deck. So you can kind of walk around and hike and check it out. I rented a kayak there, rented a fishing kayak for $10 an hour. We were out there for pretty much most of the day. And
well, not most of the morning.
The most afternoon, about 4 hours. About 4 hours. And it was fun because I learned a lot of the do's and don'ts and even in just that 4 hours, I kind of learned
what because you haven't actually
gonna
like
take.
you fish a lot, like you go fishing a lot,
but mostly off of piers
usually
and stuff.
It's like off of a pier. So this was kind of your first experience in a kayak.
So
fishing.
Combining the two, I learned a lot about what you're gonna look for and where to put your stuff. I learned that like taking a kid kayak fishing who's never really into
unless
fishing
they're like an expert
is
going
to be
fisherman.
really difficult, or take it because you can't really reach them. You're kind of stuck in that chair.
Well, and our kids are like, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Our daughter doesn't want to take the fish off the hook, and
she'll bait her hooks though. She's not worried about like putting her hand in a shrimp bucket.
I don't think she's afraid of fish. I think it's that she doesn't want to get, like, a lot of times you'll catch penfish, and penfish can poke you.
Hence the name.
Yeah. So I think it's just that she doesn't want to get poked, not that she's afraid of fish.
Nah, she doesn't want to get, and it hurts to get stabbed by those things.
So I mean, I understand why she doesn't want to touch it, but that doesn't make for good kayaking.
Right.
It's hold on, let me turn around and take your fish off.
You only have so much mobility in the thing.
Right.
And that's when I learned, okay, you got to have a spot, a kayak set up so everything is kind of within reach. You don't want to pack very heavy.
Right.
You want to have your poles where you can reach them. You're doing all these weird contortions a lot to try to figure out your stuff. And me and him, both of us, we were fishing near some mangroves, which is where snook and red is a lot. And each one of us, 2 or 3 times, I think 4 times for me, you would overcast, and you're trying to land your bait right in the base where all the fish hang out.
Yeah,
and you would
in the trees.
launch it into the trees, and then you're like, oh man, there's no getting it out of there. So you have to reel up, get yourself as close as you can, snip it, get it out of there.
Gotcha.
But so we get out there though. I rent this kayak, and it wasn't the most comfortable thing. It had a little bit of like a back support issue, which I was trying to kind of deal with, but I bared through it. We're there for maybe 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, and I put some little pinfish on for bait, cast it out there into the mangroves, and bam, I get a snook on. It's pulling out, it's splashing around, it's jumping around.
Dinner served.
Well, you can't keep those.
Oh, okay.
Unless you've got like a special stamp. He told me that like right now you can't keep any of them because of the red tide a year ago. They're trying to rebuild the population. There's like
that makes sense.
There's like pretty good limits right now on what you can keep.
Gotcha.
And it gets off. I lose it, but I see it splashing around in there. Then a minute later, he casts out there, and he pulls back and he's like, someone's eating, and he's reeling it in.
That's funny. It was probably the same one that left yours and got on his.
Right, probably. He loses it, and then
he lost it too?
He lost his too.
Okay.
At that point. And then we weren't getting any more nibbles, so we moved along, and I'm cruising along for a little bit, and I wanted to get a little more comfortable, so I get out and I'm kind of like sitting side saddle on the kayak like a bench. I'm fishing like a bench. And I see this big dark shadow come underneath me. I mean, it was definitely, we were in about 5 feet of water, and it may not have been a shark. It may have been like a cobia or something, but it had that sharky look to it. My feet are in the water, that sharky shape.
Were your feet in the water for long?
I wasn't really worried about it. I can kind of see where it was going. I'm like, oh, there's some big fish here. And I yelled at my buddy, and he didn't see it. I go, if you cast right here, you're going to be right on top of it. And it went away. But so we kind of moved around the area a little bit, nibbles here. We weren't really getting anything. And then my buddy says, let's go try those ducks on the other side of the bay there.
Okay.
So we paddle. He's way ahead of me at this point because I was having kind of like trouble like with my bait bucket thing kind of tied up to my boat. But I catch up to him, and then I pass him, and I'm like completely passing him, like he's standing still, and he's sitting there paddling and paddling. And I'm like, man, this is like either a really fast kayak, or I'm a really fast paddler, or he's just really slow. So we get across, we cut across the channel. We're hanging out in this little pier area, and my buddy goes, dude, I forgot to pull out my anchor. I've been dragging my anchor for the last 10 minutes. So like,
that's funny. He must have like thought that he was like out of shape or something. He said that.
He's like, I thought I was just real out of shape. That was the hardest kayaking I've ever had to do. And it was like on a clear day. There was no wind. There was no breeze, no waves.
An anchor will definitely slow you down.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is the guy with his own kayak, all his own gear.
It made you feel a little better about yourself.
Yeah, he's got a truck dedicated to his kayaking lifestyle, and he's dragging his anchor across the bay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then in that spot I actually, long story short, I got skunked on the day. I did catch I had a few nibbles and I lost a few, but my buddy, he did catch one decent snook, so that was fun.
I saw the picture.
Yeah,
it looked like a good fish. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was fun. He's like, this is what's fun about kayak fishing is you catch something and it'll drag you around a little bit. And I mean,
that does seem like it would be
like
fun.
The boat isn't really attached to anything. You're not attached to the
except for that anchor.
To the anchor, yeah. So you're getting dragged around by the fish a little bit, but yeah, so we had a fun day, even though I got skunked. Just being out there. It's just fun being out there.
We have a picture of you, I think, don't we? Of you out there among the mangroves.
If you're on Facebook, I'll put it here. My buddy told me, or
he means YouTube.
YouTube rather. My buddy told me, this was you going into the mangroves to retrieve one of your hooks after you launched in there.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but Weedon Island, it was just fun being out there, even if you do get skunked. Because kayaking is fun, and there's a place that you can rent kayaks there for. I think it's like $17 for the first for an hour, but then it goes down from there. It averages out to about $10 an hour.
Well, I'm glad that you found that so that you guys were still able to go and your day wasn't ruined because of a punctured inflatable kayak.
Right. I don't know if it's a puncture or what, but it wasn't.
It's a puncture if it's leaking.
If it's leaking. It wasn't far, and I'd been there before, and I knew even if you didn't catch anything, it's such a neat place to kayak because of the mangroves. There's even a spot called the Mangrove Tunnel that you can go through along a trail. They have what's called a kayaking trail, and you can follow numbers. And you follow these numbers around, and it takes you on a whole, like a self-guided tour of the area. Cool. So that was fun. At one point, this was kind of interesting. I don't think I told you about this. We saw this one group of about 15 kayaks all like playing Marco Polo with each other.
Oh, really?
So we hear them yelling Marco Polo, and we were kind of far away, but we can still hear them. Like, that's funny. I never seen anybody doing that. Playing
sounds
kayaking.
Really fun.
Well, we come back. We could get back to the area where the launching area, and I was talking to somebody who it turned out he was like managing the group, and he says it's a monthly kayaking group for visually impaired people.
Aww,
like blind kayakers.
That's awesome.
And that's what they do. They go out there and play Marco Polo in the kayak.
That's really cool.
I thought that was interesting.
That's
like,
so
wow.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty neat.
That's really neat.
That was cool. But
that's very cool.
Weedon Island near St. Pete, cool place. So
yeah.
I want to throw that out there.
As
a recommendation if you're in the area. There's a pier to fish off of, or rent kayaks, or just hang out and check out the boardwalk. So,
nice. Very cool.
Before we get into our daily topic, I did see a little splash of news today that I don't know if you knew about this yet, but
do tell.
The Skyliner reopened. The Disney Skyliner reopened only after a week?
It has been a week and 2 days.
So they relaunched it today.
It opened today.
They did it today. It's open from like 8:30 to 10 a.m. They said.
Wow.
Which I guess is sort of shortened hours. I think it normally 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. rather. I mean, not 8:30.
8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m.
10 p.m. seems a little early to close it. So
I don't know.
I think they're trying to open it a little later and keep it and close it a little earlier just to do little checks on it, maintenance on it.
Okay.
Things like that. But it reopened. So I really thought it was going to be closed for a while. At least
I'm glad they figured out the problems because
they didn't. The funny thing is they haven't said what the problem is. They're actually kind of being secretive about that.
That seems like something that you would want to share so people like believe that you've got it fixed, you know?
Yes. Or they don't want to scare people. If it's something, I don't know.
If it's something like a gnat got in the way.
I mean, nobody got hurt. Nobody got no lives were lost or ruined, so
that's true.
It's just a bad thing. I mean,
it wasn't great, but
theme park rides get stuck. It's part of life.
True.
Very few times do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people get stuck at one time.
Right.
On something that's 100 feet in the air and brand new. Yeah. But, it happens.
It happens. In fact, it happened last weekend.
It did. So, on to the topic of the week. Last year for Halloween, we did a whole bunch of Halloween episodes throughout the month of October.
Yep.
We did one that was like a Halloween haunted house roundup, just some of the best haunted houses in the state.
We did.
Like haunted houses where you walk through and like people jump out and scare you kind of haunted houses.
Yep.
Then we did an episode about like haunted places in Florida.
Correct.
That was one of my favorite episodes ever. So
really?
I really liked that one. That was one that you put together.
Yeah.
And that was really good.
Thanks.
I really liked that episode. So we'll link to that in the show notes again if anybody wants to go back and hear that.
And didn't we, are we still planning to, I think we're going to re-release our haunted house episode.
Yeah, the haunted house episode, a lot of that information is still kind of the same as far as I know.
I mean, it's in general, it's the same. You should, we're going to re-release it like on like a Wednesday or in the middle of the week, not as our episode for the week, obviously, but we're going to re-release that maybe on Wednesday or Thursday. And with the caveat, we'll do a little intro at the beginning with the caveat that you should double check all the times, dates, prices, because it all could have changed, but those are still haunted houses that are still happening.
Most of them are
in the
annual.
area.
They're every year.
Yeah.
And they just kick them back out. So I know that's a really popular thing to do during Halloween and October, and wanted to edit, but I didn't want to redo the same episode again, so we thought we'll just
rehash the same stuff.
Re-release the greatest hits and say,
yeah.
Hopefully this is still the same.
Yeah. And if there is anything different, we'll make a note of it for sure for you.
But because of last year we did the haunted attractions and haunted houses, this year I wanted to do an episode about Florida's scariest places, scary Florida places, maybe not the scariest, but a list of about
scary Florida,
10 scary Florida places that are not really, they're not considered haunted. They're not necessarily haunted. They don't have any like that weird backstory to them or paranormal stuff, but are a place that if you go, they might be kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Kind of scary.
And one of the places that I know is on your list is something that we have done in the past.
We have.
And I think that, I mean, we've done a few of these things, but I think the one that you're going to talk about probably in a little while here was kind of your inspiration for this episode.
It was, I think.
Because I remember after we did it, I said, and I quote, "That was the scariest cool thing I've ever done in my life."
I remember the day like yesterday. I mean, I can see it was one of those experiences where it's just burned in your brain.
Yeah, it was super cool. So we'll get to that. We'll for sure get to that. But so do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I'll let you start.
Okay. So and this will kind of give you a preview of what this episode is like which kind of things we're picking here. So my first one is starting off with Gatorland. And I know we've talked about Gatorland about a million times on this episode, on this show, but there's one actual thing that you can do at Gatorland that is kind of unique to Florida.
It is.
And to Gatorland. Basically, you can go in and zip line at Gatorland over 130 different giant crocodiles and alligators, and you're ziplining right over them. So
if you're afraid of either heights, zip lines, or gators, this is going to hit
most people are afraid of heights and gators, I would think. I don't know. I think most people are afraid of, falling from a great height, whether or not they're afraid of heights or not. And afraid, of gators if they're approached by one. I would be afraid.
Gators are mostly pretty chill. They do have kind of a bad reputation.
They do.
If you fell into a pit of gators, I know that sounds horrifying.
Yeah, I'd be horrified.
Most likely, realistically, the gators would probably scatter.
Yeah. Well,
unless you landed right on one and freaked him out and he hit you in self-defense.
Yeah.
Now, if they did this over the crocodile pit,
yeah, then you're out. You're out.
That would take the terror to a next level.
Well, it's like I remember you told me this, I think, that the guy, what was his name? Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter.
Yeah.
He always used to refer to alligators as frogs with teeth.
I heard,
right?
Yeah, he said the American alligator is just frogs with teeth. He said they're just whatever.
Yeah. I mean, don't get us wrong. Alligators can be dangerous.
And they do.
If
and
you feed them.
Every now and then you hear someone getting attacked
hurt
or getting bit, but it's super
killed
rare.
by an alligator, but it's pretty rare.
But still, the idea of flying over them in a zip line, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, 130 of them.
Scary and cool.
And they're in a relatively small little lake as well, so it's a large cluster of gators, I would say.
And I don't think it's not just one zip line, isn't it? Like a whole network of them?
There's a network of zip lines, and basically you are anywhere from 7 stories high to 60 feet or so high, and it's 1,200 feet, and it's different lines, but over most of the lines you're traversing over gators or crocodiles. So it's
crocodiles.
Cool. Yeah, they don't mix them
Well,
together.
I know there's one big pond there that did have crocodiles in it because I remember being there.
Really?
Yeah, there was. I remember it was off to the when you walk
Usually
in.
the
it was off to
crocodiles
the
are
left a little bit.
separated.
I think this was only crocodiles. It was off to
okay.
there's that giant alligator pit, and then off to the
Yeah, they have a bunch of crocodiles. They have a bunch of alligators, but they're not usually intermixed.
They're not,
together.
as far as I know. We were walking around. I remember this crocodile was sort of swimming in the water, kind of eyeballing me a little bit.
Well, and it says you're going over Cuban and Nile crocodiles, which I think are some of the most aggressive.
The Nile ones for sure.
Yeah. And then also over an alligator breeding marsh. So, and that's where there's 130 giant alligators below. So, and you're anywhere from, like I said, about 6 or 7 stories high, and you're going from 230 to 500 feet on any one zip line. So I think there's, like Andy was saying, there's like a connection of different zip lines that you go from one to the next to the next. But on each one, you would be going anywhere from 230 to 500 feet.
I hope it doesn't pull a Skyliner and get hung up in the middle of that thing.
Well, as long as you continue hanging and you don't fall, I think you're all right. So it's, let me see here. The price is, I have it here somewhere. Where did it go? Oh, crush. That's unfortunate. I can't find it.
That's all right.
I had it.
I'll add the link in the show notes.
I think I want to say that it was $75, but I'm going off of memory because I thought for sure I had included it in my notes. But the good thing to know is though that it also includes admission into Gatorland.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So the price does include it, whatever that may be.
Okay. The Gatorland. The Gatorland you get admission to Gatorland when you buy ziplining, not the other way around.
Oh yeah.
Not you buy Gatorland tickets. That's okay.
Yeah, when you buy your ziplining tickets, it includes admission to Gatorland.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So my first one here is I'm going to piggyback. I don't have mine in any particular order, but I'll order them depending on what you say to kind of go off of yours. My next one is a Gator-y based attraction because it is Florida scary stuff. And I've put Lake Jessup on the list here. We've been here. That's in Oviedo. We've been here before. We've been to the Black Hammock, and you did this on one of your top places Floridians don't want you to know about YouTube video. Because Lake Jessup is believed to be the highest population density of gators in the whole state. There's about 10,000 gators living in there.
That's a lot of gators. We,
again, say that gators are pretty chill. They're not really a dangerous thing to be around generally.
But I still wouldn't want to.
I wouldn't want to run into one.
Lake.
I would, yes. I mean, things happen. Yeah. But the reason I put this on here is because at Lake Jessup, you can take airboat tours, and you can take a night airboat tour.
Ooh.
Where you go out onto the most alligator-infested lake in Florida at night. That's
cool.
And it's about $60 a person. It does take you out for an hour. It's not just gators. You can see birds. You can see bald eagles. I say it's a really good time to see. It's just around twilight, so you see a lot of the animals and the birds and everything are really kind of coming to life at that time as it starts to get a little cooler. So you can do that. Take an airboat ride at night on the most alligator-infested lake. I hate the word infested, by the way.
It does sound like a bug situation.
Infested's like, I got an infestation of cockroaches, not gators or koala bears.
Koala bears, right.
I think that would be a cool thing to do. We've done an airboat tour in the Everglades before. But
I didn't know that they had a night thing there.
Yeah, they do. It's, I believe it's by reservation only.
Mm-hmm.
Got the info right here.
And how much is that?
The night tour, it's $61 a person. Oh, you need to make a reservation 24 hours in advance. So,
okay,
I guess, and it's a minimum of 6 people. Oh, it's a private tour, so it's private. You need to. You can't just. Sounds like you can't just show up and say, "Hey, take me out on your airboat." You have to kind of organize this ahead of time.
That makes sense.
Give them a call ahead of time so they have somebody there to take you out. So
that's cool.
$60.95 for adults and $51 for kids.
Huh. Well, so I didn't know that was on your list.
Oh.
Just so you know.
Okay. You put that on your list?
I didn't put that on my list, but I mean, I know a couple of the items on your lists, but I didn't know that one was on there. And I did find another Gator Nights.
Oh, good.
And it's called Gator Nights. And
Gator
it's
Nights and my radio.
Sawgrass Recreation. I know seems very Gator themed right now, but 3 of our 10 are Gator themed. Sorry. This is what happens when you create 2 separate lists.
Yes. We like to not see each other's list.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we know that because you knew what was on my list. Except for this one.
Well, because you gave me a couple ideas,
yeah.
and you said I'm taking that one.
Right. So, I think in this particular case, we knew we weren't like picking the same ones.
Well, as I'm looking at mine and hearing yours, a few of mine are. There are a lot of them are water oriented, or animal-y oriented.
Well, mine are too.
Okay, good.
So,
it's Florida. It's gators and water are
recreation. Yeah,
part
water
of the deal.
Activity outside. Absolutely. Sawgrass Recreation Park has something called Gator Nights.
Where's Sawgrass Recreation Park?
It's in the Everglades.
Oh, okay.
So you think your alligator-infested lake is scary? Head on down to the Everglades.
Yep. There's probably more gators there. It's just that the Everglades is sort of
it's larger.
Yeah, it doesn't have any boundaries.
Right,
it's just the whole thing.
So this particular tour, it's 1 hour. It's a nighttime airboat adventure in the Everglades, and it's only on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and they meet at 8, leave at 8:30, and the tour guides actually take you out there to see and hear a variety of reptiles, and they take you out with large flashlights as well.
Oh, so you can shine them up?
So you can shine and I don't know if everyone knows this, but I think we've talked about it before, but that if you shine a light into an alligator's eyes, or if you shine a light on a lake where an alligator's eyes are peeking up out of the water, they glow.
Yeah.
So
there's pictures of it out there, and it's really creepy.
Very creepy.
It's very Halloween-y. It's a bunch of little just red eyes looking back at you from the light.
I know I've talked about this before, but my brother would take me out on our lake when I was a kid, and we would go out on the lake, and he would take a flashlight, and we would look for gators. We didn't hunt them or anything like that, but we would just go out there to look for gators, and there'd be a ton of them out there.
They're everywhere.
So this is near and dear to my heart. So this particular adventure isn't that expensive. It's actually cheaper than what you have over there. It's $40 for adults and $20 for children, and there's no age limit for kids. So and kids 3 and under are free as well. So it's pretty cool.
I missed the beginning. Did you say it's like a walking tour, or is it a boat?
No, it's on an airboat.
Oh, for $40, that's a good deal.
Yeah. So I thought that sounded really cool, and just the fact that you can go out there in the Everglades, where there's probably who knows how many alligators you would see on one of those nighttime trips, with their glowing eyes.
Not just gators, but there's
hundreds.
There's all kinds of stuff out. I mean, there's panthers out there. There's even bears.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's really cool, and I kind of want to go do it.
Yeah, that sounds great. What side of the Everglades is it on? Do you know is it on the east side or the west, the more of the Naples east side or the Miami side?
I don't know. It's Sawgrass Recreation Park is the name of it.
Cool.
We'll have to look that up.
Check that out. Cool. So the next one on my list here. This is a place you would never catch me ever going. Probably, in my opinion, the scariest place on this whole list. And this is
I'm intrigued.
For me and probably for a lot of folks. This is near Weeki, Wachee. When I say the name, it's not gonna sound too scary. This is called the Eagle's Nest.
Oh gosh, eagles are terrifying.
Terrifying. The Eagle's Nest is it's just about 3 miles from Weeki, Wachee. It's in a wooded area. When you look at this, it just looks like a nondescript pond, but it descends down 300 feet deep into miles and miles of underwater maze-like underwater caverns.
Oh gosh, so for scuba diving, cave diving?
For cave diving, this place is considered it's world famous.
Very dangerous.
World famous for cave diving. It's very dangerous. Considered world famous and just about the most dangerous cave diving place in the world.
Wow.
It's considered the Mount Everest of cave diving.
Are there any pictures?
There are. There's actually pictures of this, and there's YouTube videos. So if you want to look at YouTube video, it looks gorgeous. If you could actually go do this, I would never in a million years, because it's not just scary, it's legitimately dangerous. 11 people have died here, including people who are they know what they're doing. People who are who've done this before.
You can't go cave diving and not know what you're doing.
You can't. You have to get you have to get certified, and you have to really know, not just open water certified.
Yeah, you have to be cave diving certified.
Cave diving open water certification. It's easy. Anybody could do that. But cave diving, that's a whole different deal. This place, like I said, 11 people have been killed there, including one just last January.
Oh, jeez.
They had to sort of tighten up the rules on this place because it was closed for a couple of years after somebody died. For about 3 or 4 years, they just wouldn't allow anybody to even go here. And then a bunch of cave divers just sort of revolted and said, guys, we got to open it up. I mean,
okay.
If you're into this, you're really into it. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do this, but they sort of tightened it up a lot as far as what it takes to go there now. So now you need a permit. You can't just show up and go diving.
Okay.
Even with a cave diving certification.
Where do you get a permit from?
That's
probably
a good question.
Maybe
the state or the county or somebody there, and you need to have at least 60 cave dives under your belt. So you can't just go.
That's probably a good thing,
right?
To make sure that they have that kind of experience.
I feel like 60 cave dives is pretty good. You can't just be fresh off your cave diving certification and show up at the Mount Everest of cave diving and then expect to know what you're doing.
Right.
It's like, I climbed the top of that hill. I'm going to go climb Mount Everest now.
Might as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because this is very close to Weeki Wachee, and it's when you see it, you look at it on Google Maps, and it just looks like this small little pond out in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, how did anybody learn about it? Like, how do you just go in there? I mean, I guess divers probably explore things like that, but who was the first person to see this pond, decide to go down diving in there, and then discover this huge network of
I don't know,
underwater caves?
I don't know, but I could ask the same thing about another one on your list that I know is there. Like, who decided to go in that particular
spot?
Water.
That's next
area.
on my list.
Yeah. So I don't know how people find a lot of things. Like,
and my next question is, why is it called the Eagle's Nest if it's 300 feet deep?
I don't know.
It's strange, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
So that's near Weeki Wachee. That's a place that I don't recommend anybody ever going. I would never go there, but the idea of being 300 feet underwater in a cave environment
sounds terrifying.
Very scary. But definitely go check out videos of this place because it looks really cool. I mean, it looks great if you're...
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure we can probably find some,
I'll link to videos,
Creative Commons or something like
that. If
that.
I can't find anything that I can use, I will for
we
YouTube.
Can put in the YouTube video.
I'll link to someone else's video. So.
Yeah. It reminds me of, we were just listening to a Stuff You Should Know all about beekeeping.
Oh, yes.
And Josh said something about how, about 45 minutes of your scuba diving class is scuba diving, learning to scuba dive, and the rest of it is just learning how not to die.
Not to die. That's I told people that if you you can learn how to scuba dive in 10 minutes.
Like what to do if something goes wrong.
But then how to stay alive that's the most important part.
Right. Right. So I'm assuming the cave diving is just like a ramped up version of that. Well, but again, if you don't practice, I'm scuba certified, but I haven't been in so long that I wouldn't go again without a refresher course.
Yeah, I would take a refresher too.
It's been so long, and it's like anything. Without practice, you get rusty.
And that's the thing.
And that's like a place that you don't want to be rusty.
Right now, if I would
30 feet under the water,
I'd be comfortable going out. It's been a while since I've gone diving, but I'd feel comfortable going diving. It would just be the whole practicing.
Yeah, but you've been since
stuff.
I have.
Yeah.
You have gone more often than I have.
But the practicing staying alive part. I know there's a lot of they run like a rope behind them, almost like if you can imagine.
Oh, for cave diving?
Yeah, like a trail.
Yeah,
to
like
get
a trail
out.
of breadcrumbs.
But if you don't manage your air right, if your lights go out on you, if you kick up there's a lot.
What if the rope gets tangled?
What if the rope gets severed? There's a lot that can go wrong. Again, you'll never catch me doing it, but I would love that people do it because I could watch your videos from afar.
Right.
It looks gorgeous. So let me get right into the next one then. I know I'm doing 2 in a row here.
You're doing 2 in a row.
But it kind of, it piggybacks off the one I just said. And this
is the one that I said that was the coolest
scary thing
I've
ever
ever done. Yeah.
And because we were just talking about scuba diving, and this is Hudson Grotto in Hudson, Florida. This is a little north of Clearwater, Florida.
Yep.
And this is everything I just mentioned. This is the Eagle's Nest, but without the fear of getting lost
dying.
in a 300-foot underwater cave and dying.
Yeah.
You can go here as an open water diver. In fact, we went here to learn diving. They took us here before
when we were getting certified.
Yeah, they took us here, and it's an old sinkhole. It's actually considered a prehistoric limestone sinkhole, and the thing I read says it's most likely the oldest inland body of water in Pasco County. So
really,
it's an old water. It's when you look at it again, it just looks like a pond.
Yeah,
and
it's very tea colored.
Very tea colored. It looks like dark.
They call them tannins.
It's all leaves that get in the water.
Like, the decaying leaves and things like that, and it has the most ridiculously rapid thermoclines I've ever experienced in my life.
You get in there and 20 feet deep. It's
and if you don't know what a
colder.
Thermocline is, it's basically it's like layers of temperature changes in the water, and it's almost like I always think of like when you mix like water and oil. And how you can see that line.
Yeah, it's how it is.
There's almost like a line of the next colder temperature. And we were going down through these thermoclines, and I was so cold. Like I was wearing a sweatsuit. A
hoodie.
I was wearing gloves, and no, I was wearing a scuba suit, and what's it called? Wetsuit. A full length wetsuit, not one of those shorty ones. And I was shivering. I was so cold.
Well, they took us down to, there's these platforms. This place is actually set up for exploring, for diving, but also it's set up for teaching and doing classes there. And there was these platforms. Remember those platforms that were under the water?
Oh, yeah.
There were several levels of them. So you went on there and you went down deep. And I remember everybody looking at each other like, it's really cold down here.
Yes, it is really
cold.
And
when it was over, one of the guys in our class almost said, guys, I was almost ready to just cut to go up. Like I couldn't take it any longer.
So cold.
Just to the next level up where it's warm. You know what? I just read that the different, there's actually a mix of fresh water and salt water in that.
In the Hudson Grotto?
Yeah, so the top layer is fresh, and as you go down, you hit salt water at the base. So that might have something to do with it.
I don't know, but it was so cold. And the other really amazing, so that's, scary enough for those of you that don't like to be cold, but the really scary part, I felt like, of that particular dive and why I would include it on a scary list.
But I would do it again tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Right.
Is like you can look up, which is, it's kind of hard to look up when you're scuba diving because you have a giant tank on your back, but you can look up and see the sun, and there's sun coming in, so you can see the sun's rays and all the water is tea colored. But when you look down, it's just a dark black hole.
Yeah, you
don't see anything.
It's like floating through space.
Yes.
So when you look at it, like I said before, it just looks like a pond, but it drops off dramatically. There's no real beach. You're in there, and it goes down to 155 feet deep at the bottom.
Right.
Yeah, so...
it's like, that's a big first drop.
When you get in there, and we were floating around at maybe 40 feet deep,
and
you looked, and you just see nothing but just darkness below you.
Yes.
And so it's a 155-foot hole. There's no cave system here to speak of.
Right.
But people who practice deep diving do go down there. And there's actually some stuff down there. There's a couple of VW buses that they put down there.
That's cool.
And there's all kinds of little knickknacks that they put along the walls.
You'd have to take lights though by the time you get that low.
You would have to. You would need lights for when we went. So you said
we didn't have lights.
We didn't, but you could use. I mean, they wouldn't be a bad thing to have.
I could see you, and I could see the other divers. It was very tea-colored water, but we weren't at a depth deep enough that the sun wasn't still impacting the water.
It's weird.
Like, you can see. But once you get to 150 feet, the sun can't reach you anymore.
It's got to be black as night down there.
Right.
So the water is tea-colored, but it's clear. Like, you can see each other, but you're seeing each other through, like, dark
tea.
water. And so when you look up, you see the sun, and it's got, like, this yellowish red color to it. Yep. And I remember we were down there for like a half an hour. We did like a lap of the entire thing.
Yeah, freezing. Absolutely freezing.
We were cold for a while, but then I remember we came up a little bit to the point where it wasn't so bad. and we did a lap. And
it's like it was like so cold, like that you like think maybe I should pee on myself.
Yeah,
to warm myself
it was
up.
really cold.
You pee a lot when in your wetsuit when you scuba dive.
That's part of the deal. That's part of the deal.
In case you don't know.
That's the self-warming system on the thing.
Exactly.
And I remember, like you said, that when we did the lap, and you could see everybody, and you could see the walls look like it felt like cave diving, but without being in a cave.
Right.
You're along the sheer walls of the thing, and there's fish in there. We saw some. I remember looking up and seeing turtles and some catfish and bass in there.
Okay, I don't remember that.
And I remember coming up because it was really spooky.
This has been like what?
It's
10,
been a while,
12,
at least
15 years ago, almost now. Yeah.
And then we came up, and I remember you going, "That was the coolest." Scary thing I've ever done in my life.
It was
and
really cool.
It was really cool. It was like being in an underwater haunted house, but without the.
I think that's exactly what it was like.
But it was cool. I would do it again.
Oh, 100%.
I would do it again.
Absolutely.
But knowing that if you go any more deeper than 25, 30 feet, it's freezing down there.
It's freezing.
So I'll put, if I
you
find
almost need like a dry suit at that point.
You almost do. And imagine it 155 feet deep, how cold it's got to be.
They must wear dry suits at that point, right? I would think.
I would hope so.
I don't know how you could survive. I was
unless it gets warmer
so
again down there. I don't know.
How could it though? The sun isn't reaching it.
Maybe it's something to do with I guess it's a saltwater freshwater mix. So maybe down there it's warmer. I don't know. Probably not. But
I don't know.
If I find videos of this, I'll link to them in the show notes because
cool.
it's something it's definitely worth seeing. And that's Hudson Grotto in Hudson, Florida, and anybody can go scuba dive there or even swim or snorkel there. You can go swim in there and check this place out. So it's open to the public.
Sure.
And
I would think it'd probably be maybe not just as scary, but almost as scary to snorkel there.
I think it'd be scarier to snorkel there because then all you're doing is looking down into the depths. There's nothing to look up at.
That's true.
You can't even look up and see the sun. You're just snorkeling over a black hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Forget it. I'm never going back. You changed my mind.
You're funny. All right. So my next one, should I do 2 in a row? Because you did 2 in a row to like layer.
Sure. Unless I've got one that piggybacks off yours that I didn't know about.
Okay. Well, so my next one I have talked about before, but I felt the need to include it here again. And that is Spook Hill in Lake Wales, Florida.
Because the name's Spook?
Yeah. Well, so there's nothing haunted about this place, although there is like a very fun little, like sign at Spook Hill that tells the story of an Indian chief and an alligator and a fight and, some tale associated with the two of them fighting and how that has impacted or how it supposedly is haunted, but it's not haunted. It's actually just a really amazingly cool optical illusion.
Yeah, it's pretty famous.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's actually right around the corner from Bok Tower, which is another like place that we highly recommend going to. It's beautiful there, amazing gardens. We have some footage of that as well. It was one of our top 10 places Floridians don't want you to know about. And right around the corner, literally like probably less than a mile or two away, is Spook Hill. And the way that it works is, and I was just there probably maybe 2 years ago, 2 years ago to do
wasn't
this.
Long. It's funny. I haven't.
You've never been
here yet. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to go one day and take the kids because it is fun. Like it's an excellent optical illusion because it really does feel like you are rolling uphill. Like 100%.
And is there like there's like a little start finish line for you?
So the sign explains what to do, but on the road they've actually painted like a line where you should start, and you park your car at the line and you put your car in neutral, and then you take your foot off the brake and your car begins to roll uphill at that point. And it's not actually rolling uphill, it's rolling downhill, but the way that the topography is in that area, you really feel like you are rolling uphill.
Is it on like not a major road?
Not at all.
But is it on a road where you be like causing traffic for people who live in the neighborhood?
It's on a road that the only reason people go on that road is to do this.
Okay, good.
Pretty much.
Good.
I mean, like right around the corner is an elementary school called Spook Hill Elementary School.
That's a fun name for a school.
Yeah. Can you guess what their mascot is?
The Ghosts.
Their mascot is Casper the Ghost.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So that's right around the corner from there.
They're the ghosts. They are the ghosts. The Spook Hill Ghosts. That's a cool
yeah.
name for a mascot.
Yeah. So anyway, but this is just, I don't know, this holds a special place in my heart. I think this is kind of just a fun little, definitely don't come to Florida just to go to Spook Hill. But if you're in the area anyway, if you're going to Legoland, or Bach Tower or something like that, swing by Spook Hill because it's just a fun little thing to see.
It's a fun story to
to
share.
Fun
It's one of those things as being like a free attraction in an area that's nobody living on it. I'm glad and pleasantly surprised that it's not, surrounded by billboards right now, just because they know people are going to come and look at it.
Yeah, that's true.
People are going to stop and there's not just a giant Budweiser billboard right staring at you and a whole bunch of ads for local stuff all over the place because they know you're stopping by. You're going to be like a captive audience for a minute.
Well, and it's funny because there are a lot of people that go there because when I went there a year or so ago, while I was there were, I would say, probably 3 or 4 cars that were waiting for me to finish so they could do it.
That's funny.
And I was just there on a, regular day.
It
wasn't like
it's well known. It's gotten out.
Like
the word's gotten out.
Halloween or anything like that. Yeah, it was just like a regular day, and people were waiting. So I mean, I'm sure people are there every single day checking out Spook Hill. Have
you ever seen the pictures? Now what this reminds me of is like any touristy attraction that you see people taking a picture of and they look like they're the only ones there, and then if you see like the wide shot, you'll always see just a million people waiting.
Oh yeah.
Like
it's like seeing the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and if you pull back, there's like 800 buildings other than the Leaning Tower there.
The one that I was thinking of is the southernmost point in Key West.
Oh yeah.
You'll always see like family pictures of 2 or 3 people standing there, but if you go, and I think there's actually a live webcam video.
Yeah, there's hundreds of people
you'll
there.
see 100 people in line on any given Tuesday. Just 100 people in line waiting to have their picture taken with the southernmost point.
Right.
And the funny thing about that is that's not even the real southernmost point in Key West.
I know. You've told us.
Yep. Have I?
Yeah,
you brought that up. I remember doing I was going to do a Key West episode. I was putting one together about
I'm
that.
almost positive that you told us on the podcast, but just give the Cliff Notes version.
The real southernmost point in Key West is on a beach just south of the fort that's there. There's a fort that the name right now escapes me, but there's like an old fort that's at the very end of the island, and there's a beach there.
Southernmost tip.
And that's the real southernmost tip. But the thing is, there's no road to it. There's no way to really get there, except if you're on the beach, but it's not it's not as conducive to a touristy picture photo op,
Gotcha.
All right, you got another one or
I do. So this one is it's like I have this is like 3A, B, and C.
Okay.
So my next one is
3A, B. Okay.
So my next one is swimming with the sharks.
Okay.
And again,
it could be terrifying or it could not be, depending on how you are.
It's Florida. It's we've got lots of wildlife. We've got lots of outdoor activities, and in pretty much any body of water in the state, there could be a large animal waiting to eat you.
Yeah.
So yeah, good times.
I've heard Florida described as America's Australia.
Yeah, I could see that
in that regard.
So there are multiple places. Obviously, you can go swim with sharks in the water, in the ocean,
just by going to the beach. You're swimming with the sharks.
You're swimming with sharks.
Technically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we've told the story multiple times, I think, of me swimming with an actual shark
at New Smyrna
Beach. Yeah.
That could actually almost
he was only 2.5 feet.
Little black
3
tip.
feet long.
That could be an honorary mention of a scary Florida place.
Yeah,
New
absolutely.
Smyrna Beach.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, I saw that shark, and we had literally been talking with folks the day before that go to that beach all the time. They're like, "Yeah, I've never seen a shark there. You're not going to see a shark."
And then wham, first try.
I see it. Yeah.
I remember you talking to the lifeguard. You said, "Hey, I saw a shark in the water over there."
Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, you see him all the time."
He's like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if you didn't.
He goes, "I see him all the time because I surf out there." He's like, "I see him every single day." I was like, okay.
That would freak me out, but I guess you'd get used to it.
Yeah, I guess so. Anywho, but there are places in Florida where you can go to a more controlled environment. Controlled environment. That's a good way to say it. And swim with sharks. So the first place I found was Discovery Cove. And that is a place where you can, get the full experience.
That's the SeaWorld place, right?
Yep, exactly.
I didn't know you could swim with sharks there. I knew you could swim with dolphins there, but the sharks is...
Yeah, it's like a shallow water shark tank. And they... you basically swim freely alongside several different species of sharks in there. It's something you have to book in advance, and it starts at $109 per person.
And do you know if that's after you paid the admission? Because
I don't know the answer to that.
Because that place is kind of expensive, Discovery Cove. Yeah, but
I think that's
everybody who's gone says it's a great day.
Yeah. It's a very, very cool experience from what I hear. I wouldn't know personally.
Yeah, it's like $250 a person. Yeah, it's not cheap.
But Discovery Cove, we're ready to come if you want to invite us. The second place is the Florida Aquarium, and that is right here in our own Tampa,
and we've
Florida.
Watched people swim with the sharks there.
We have. So the Florida Aquarium actually has two different swimming with sharks experiences. One is a snorkel experience, so you do not have to be scuba certified to do this.
You just hang out at the top?
Yep. You can snorkel with more than 1,000 fish, including stingrays, barracudas, a sea turtle, and sand tiger sharks.
Oh, I know the tank that they put you in for all that. Because there's that one particular tank that has sharks and sea turtles that I remember. Yeah.
Yep. And they say scuba certification is not required. That one is $100 for aquarium members or $110 for non-members.
So scary or maybe not, depending on if you're terrified of sharks.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go snorkeling with some sharks, I think that's a pretty scary experience, especially if you're on the top of the water. I feel like if you're amongst them, it's a little less scary
than I think
if
too. Yeah,
you're swimming on top of the water and they're like looking up at you.
From what I hear, shark attacks on divers are super rare. Like it almost never happens because they see you in the water with them. They think you're just part of the environment.
Right. And a large piece of the environment. Yeah. So they're not going to go when there's small fish that they could eat. They're not going to go after you.
And if you're on the top, you're something. You could just be a seal,
something
flopping around up there.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Florida Aquarium also has dive with the sharks, and that is a little bit more expensive. It's $150 for aquarium members or $160 for non-members. And that one obviously does require you to be scuba certified.
Cool.
You have to be 15 years or up, and you're down there, amongst the animals, taking the plunge, as they say, sharks, moray eels, barracuda, sea turtles, and more.
I've seen people doing this. I looked in there and seen this going on.
So all gear is provided.
Oh,
so
good.
That's good to know. And then the last place, we actually have... we just recently experienced this a little bit.
Well, we saw this. I know which one you're mentioning, I believe.
Yeah. So at Epcot, they have Explore New Depths. And that's what the adventure is called. And it's in the Seas with Nemo and Friends. They're at that pavilion there. So you know how they have that giant aquarium?
It's one of the biggest aquariums in the world.
It's really, really amazing. In fact, our son always wants... that's his favorite thing.
It's crazy. I love it. Like whenever we go,
he's like, can we go to Nemo? Can we go to Nemo? Because he just loves aquariums. He's just like you in that respect.
It's funny because that's considered kind of an older, not so
It's an older attraction,
right? It's one of the older attractions. It's probably not one of the marquee ones anymore. The Nemo ride is it's all right, but it has a short line all the time. But yeah, he just loves going in there looking at the fish, and I love that too. So whenever we go there, he just wants to go see that. And and the last time we were there, we saw this happening. There was quite a few divers in there.
Yes.
And you can hang out and you can dive in there. There was at least one hammerhead shark flying around in there.
Yeah.
A lot of smaller sharks. Mm-hmm. There are dolphins, but they're not in this tank. They're in another separate tank.
Yes.
The dolphins.
And there was a bunch, and we'll put some footage in here as well for you guys to see, but there were a bunch of divers in there.
Quite a few, yeah.
There was at one point their dive was ending and they were all getting out of the aquarium, and like the getting out point was right above where I was standing. Yeah. So all of these scuba divers are like descending upon me,
and they see it. Remember them waving.
Yeah, they're
like
waving and stuff. We'll put some footage in of that. It was really cool. But
I would love to do this. This is probably the number one thing on this list that I'd want to do.
So it's a 5.7 million gallon saltwater aquarium, just so you know, and it has over 6,000 sea creatures inside of it. Which that's a lot of sea creatures.
Give or take, depending on how hungry some of the sharks are.
Nice. So there's sea turtles, angelfish, dolphins, eagle rays, sharks, and what I thought was really interesting, it's called Epcot Seas Adventure Dive Quest, and it lasts for 3 hours, and you spend approximately 40 minutes on your actual dive.
Okay. Sounds about right.
The rest of the time, they do this like massive backstage tour and show you like all the infrastructure that filters and maintains
Oh, that's cool.
the aquarium. Yeah. I thought that sounded really, really fun. I would love to do that.
It's almost like the behind the scenes tour that they
do,
but at
cooler.
the aquarium. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's $179. I don't know if admission is included.
$179 for. I bet you. I don't know if admission will be included for
probably
that. Probably not.
Yeah.
But that's awesome.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem that unreasonable. $179.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad either.
To dive in that tank. I mean, that's cool.
Plus a 3-hour tour.
Plus a 3-hour tour. I've heard a song about that once. 3-hour tour, 40 minutes in what is like a world famous aquarium.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's really beautiful.
It's like a canned dive. I mean, all the fish are there.
Yeah, but
it's a really cool spot.
It's a little scary, but it's like roller coaster scary. Like you get that thrill while knowing that you're pretty much completely safe.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you dive in there.
They fed the sharks. They're well fed.
Yeah. They wouldn't let you dive in there if they knew that hammerhead was going to take a chunk out of somebody every now and then.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that. That's really high. And that actually seems for Disney prices
not too bad.
Fairly reasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
That seems doable for like a bucket list type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So next on my list has nothing to do with anything animal oriented, but I ran into this and thought this seemed pretty interesting. It's called Grindhouse Video.
Okay.
This is one of the few video stores that survives anywhere in the. I mean, think about how many video stores are gone.
You mean like Blockbuster?
Blockbuster, just any place where you go and buy or rent a physical video or DVD. But in Tampa, there is still one that exists. It has a cult following. It's called Grindhouse Video. They have a brick and mortar location where you can go check it out.
Okay.
And it looks like they do a lot of their business online, which is probably how they stay in business. But it is a store that specializes in nothing but horror movies.
Okay, I was wondering where the scary was coming in.
As mainstream and obscure as can be. Just it's a whole store.
Interesting.
It's in a little dinky strip mall, and there's a place called Nerd Out Comics that's right next to it. But it's a video store that still exists to this day that rents. Well, I don't know if they rent, but they sell Blu-rays, DVDs, VHS, and even laser discs of nothing but horror movies.
VHS.
And they also go ahead.
No. Sorry. Go ahead.
They also sell. They have it's just like any kind of place like this. They have collectibles and toys and books and memorabilia and games and things like that too. But to know that a video store still exists anywhere in the world, that's not amazing. Not only that, but just to have this narrow niche.
It's probably not the only video store left in the world, though.
Probably not, but
I'm guessing Nowheresville. Some Nowheresville town in some rural part of a state has a video store, I would guess.
I believe there's still one Blockbuster left.
Oh, really?
I think unless something tells me I want to see. I think it might have just closed recently.
You're going to have to research that and then add some kind of tagline down at the bottom of the YouTube video that says, I don't know what I'm talking about.
I want to say it's in Alaska.
I can see that.
I want to say the final Blockbuster video is still in Alaska.
So a video store with just horror movies. So do you think Rosemary's Baby's in there?
Probably.
Watched Rosemary's Baby for the first time just like a week or so ago because someone at work made me watch it. That was the most horrifying movie I've ever seen in my life.
So it still holds up?
Oh my gosh. And it was it's like one of those movies that it's subtly horrifying, like the music gets really freaky and nothing's happening, but you think something's going to happen.
The music tips you off.
Yeah. But then nothing crazy ever really does happen, but the whole thing is still just terrifying. And yeah, whew, man, it's definitely stuck with me.
So I'm sure they have it there. Maybe. Should we go check it out?
I don't know.
Now, if you look at pictures of this place, it looks kind of, wouldn't say scary. I mean, it just looks like a small little video store that's got nothing but...
So it doesn't have it's not like a giant mouth eating you as you enter.
No, it's like the video store version of Gatorland where you walk through a skull with.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that would be awesome. Actually, we should go picture
clown, that.
Yeah, you walk through the clown's mouth.
Yeah,
like some psycho circus.
Ooh, scary.
The last Blockbuster is in Bend, Oregon. I just found that out.
So it does exist.
It does exist. Yes, it's still out there.
Very cool.
And,
well, that's interesting.
Bend, Oregon.
And is that your second to last one, or is that your last one?
I still have one more.
Okay. So this is my last one. And it is in Cocoa Beach, Merritt Island.
Okay.
And it sounds really cool, but just the idea of doing this at night also makes me feel like it would be a little freaky too. So that's why it's on my list. But I definitely want to do this. And it's the Bioluminescent Comb Jelly Night Tour.
Oh, yeah. That looks
and
awesome.
paddleboard adventure, basically. Or you can kayak. You can do like a paddleboard adventure, or you can kayak. And it's, if you haven't heard of this, we'll add some pictures here that so you can kind of see. But this bioluminescence is basically they're glowing in the water at night. And it's an amazing sight to see from what I can tell from pictures that I have seen.
I wonder how that works. Like when you're going through because the water isn't glowing until you are like hitting
so you're
them.
Going through it.
So something about stirring up the water makes them
right.
light up.
Right. So I don't know how it works either, but it has something to do with some very large words like phytoplankton and dinoflagellates.
I've heard of those.
Yeah.
I've heard of those things.
Who knows if I'm saying them correctly?
Phytoplankton.
Yeah, but it's amazing. It's like these comb jellies that light up, and it's apparently kind of like what people will say is kind of like a life-changing experience, which I can kind of see that. Like when something is so beautiful, like I remember the first time we ever saw the Grand Canyon, I was like, this is unbelievable how giant this thing is.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I can kind of see how going through and like kayaking or stand-up paddleboarding through like glowing animals would be like kind of a life-changing experience, you know?
You sound like some hippie kid who just like ate some mushroom he found at a cow patty. And
life-changing,
life-changing, man.
It was life-changing.
I saw those bioluminescent algae, man.
They were speaking to me.
I could hear the ocean was singing to me, man.
Right. So, in this particular one, I think there's a lot of different ones that you could probably look up, but the one that I found, again, is at Merritt Island, Cocoa Beach area. It's a guided tour. It's $75 per person. And it's like,
guided. So they take you to
tour,
where
so they
this,
take you through, and ages 5 and under can even participate. They just have to like be on the paddleboard or kayak with the parent.
They can't stand up and paddle.
I guess not.
The 5-year-old.
Nope. So anyway, I think that would be really cool. I would like to do that. It's typically in the summertime, May through September, it's all year round, but it's later in the summertime, obviously, because of the time change. So May through September, it tends to be like around 9 p.m. and then 8 p.m. in the October through April month.
Yeah, that sounds great. I want to do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be very cool.
Bioluminescent algae.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. My last one it kind of piggybacks on yours a little bit too, because there is some paddling involved here. And the last one, this is one of those scary things that I don't know that I could probably see myself doing this in the right environment. And this is if I wanted to put myself up through a challenge.
Okay.
This is the 17 Runs. You ever heard of this?
I think I have, but I can't remember what it is.
The 17 Runs is an infamous section of the Hillsborough River.
Oh, yeah.
And this is in Thonotosassa, Florida.
Yes.
It's actually considered to be just about the most extreme and technical paddling in all of Florida. So if you are a kayaker, a canoeer, this is like an expert level spot.
You just recently watched a YouTube video of a guy doing this.
I did. This is one of those things I ran across, and I just wanted to see it, like experience it through the video.
Right.
I could see, maybe doing this if I was up for the dealing with a lot of nonsense.
A pain in the tuchus.
Yeah. So it's not far from Hillsborough River State Park.
Yeah.
There's a section of the river they call the 17 Runs, and it's because 17 smaller tributaries flow into the Hillsborough River.
Right.
And because of that, the river sort of loses the definition of a river anymore.
Yeah.
And
so you're walking your kayak.
Yeah, it opens up into a big floodplain, a swampy floodplain, underneath a canopy of cypress trees. So the sun is blocked out. It's nothing but just tipped over trees, logs.
Yeah. Like you literally in some parts have to like lift up your kayak over trees and put your kayak under trees and go
it's a 5 miles of that. 5 miles of getting
walking your kayak through swampy areas,
picking your canoe up over the log, putting it under spiders, snakes.
No, thank you.
gators, a 5 mile. It's about a 5 mile stretch. It takes several hours to get through this.
This sounds like something that I would hate.
Out in deep Florida wilderness, basically.
Yeah.
Deep jungle.
No,
I mean,
thank you.
it's not far from civilization. I mean, it's not far from.
No,
but it's deep in like old school,
right,
Florida woodland,
and
swampland.
you like see gators, and
everything. If you're
everything.
like a complete nature lover who doesn't care about putting up with all that stuff, and you just want to see a part of Florida that people don't normally see, the 17 runs of the Hillsborough River are your way to go. Now
that sounds horrifying. That sounds more horrifying than Rosemary's Baby.
To be out there. Now they don't.
There was like, I'm sorry, there was one like YouTube video that you were watching where a guy was like waist deep in water, like
muck
water, in an area. I mean, granted, no gator in that area has been fed because there's nobody around, but still being in that deep in muck water in a gator infested area.
And there's a lot of gators on that river.
A lot of gators.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I was a gator, that's where I'd be because nobody's messing with me.
Nope.
So, man, that does not.
So you can't see yourself ever doing this?
Spiders everywhere. You guys know how I feel about spiders. There's no way.
Now they don't recommend you just going and doing it if you don't know what you're doing. In fact, brown recluses, black widows, your personal favorite, the black widow. Yeah. Remember the time we found a black widow in the garage once? And
No. We found a family of black widow spiders in our garage. It was a mom, a dad, and a lot of babies.
And Shannon was basically ready to burn down the house.
Well
it was like calling the artillery strike.
Have we told this story before?
It sounds. I feel like
I don't know if we have. If
we probably repeat stories over and over again, and people are sick of it.
But like, I ran out of the garage. You're knocking your computer over. We ran out of the garage. Andy's like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I'm like, no. You don't understand. We are going to bomb the entire house, whether it's with a bug bomb or an atomic bomb.
And I'm like,
one way or the other, we are bombing the house.
I become like Mr. Wikipedia, where I'm like, well, right here it says that the black widow is responsible for 0 deaths in America, and it
and
put
I
up my
say,
glasses.
Who cares?
Who cares? It's a ugly red spider with a black and red spider.
Well, and they like their babies are brown, like a light brown. They don't have the red hourglass on them. You get that when, I guess you get that when you get your wings or something.
When you earn your wings. When you earn your hourglass.
When you become an adult, you earn your hourglass. But so they have like little light brown babies. And this morning, I got in our car and there was a little light brown baby spider.
What'd you name it?
In our car. And I thought, I wonder if that's a black widow spider because it was in the garage.
Your car is probably free from bugs and crickets and everything else.
We should probably bomb the garage again.
Bomb your car.
Anyway, sorry. What you were saying?
Sorry. As we get off on that tangent, I'm sure there's a lot of these things on the 17 runs, but there is there's a sign. They don't recommend you going there, obviously, if you don't know what you're doing.
They don't recommend me going there.
Anybody. People get lost frequently. It's not uncommon for a family of just, could you just imagine this happening? Yeah, just a mom and dad and their kids out for a paddle, and they see this and they go in there, and there's actually a sign. There's several signs. There's a bunch of signs that warn you.
Do not enter.
Well, there is a sign. It's like an old school wooden yellow and brown sign that says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," right before you enter this area. Jeez. Including some official looking signs that say, look, don't go in here unless you know what you're doing.
Why would you with the kids and all that stuff? That's
People
crazy.
do. People randomly will just paddle in there thinking, how bad can it be? And then they have to get rescued. In fact, they say helicopter rescues aren't even that uncommon for these people.
Oh my gosh.
There was an article I ran across in TampaBay.com from about a year or two ago. Rescued canoeists took a wrong turn on Hillsborough River 17 runs.
Oh, jeez.
And this says, amid the croaking... I'll put a link to this article in the show notes. But amid the croaking bullfrogs and whine of mosquitoes and the blackness of a Hillsborough County swamp, 3 men stood afloat on a log Monday night crying for help through a canopy of trees. What was supposed to be a daytime canoe exploration of the upper Hillsborough River turned into a harrowing night in the wilderness for the trio. It ended early Tuesday when sheriff's deputies spotted them and guided them back to dry land. So
how did sheriff deputies spot them in the middle of a swamp?
they had to. I read this article before. They only had between.
Did they have a cell phone that they called someone?
They had a cell phone. They only had, between the three of them, it said they had 2 life jackets, 1 pair of shoes, and a cell phone.
Oh, jeez.
They sailed past the sign that said, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." And before dusk, they were lost. They kept paddling until they reached the dead end of an inlet. They climbed out and trudged through the swamp, headed toward the distant sound of traffic along US 301.
Oh, gosh. And 301 is exactly a very populated street either.
No.
Oh, gosh.
They said it was just like being lost in the woods. It's easy to become disoriented. And they just said that as the trees got too thick, the night too dark, fearing an alligator encounter, they assembled atop a 15-foot log. So they got out of their canoe.
Because a gator can't get on a log.
Sat on a log and said, let's wait. From their dying cell phone, they called 911. A search was launched. Dispatchers told the men to continue calling 911 every 30 minutes. Using the phone signal, deputies were able to pinpoint their location, their approximate location. Jeez. They just got out looking for them. So, and there's a lot of stories like that. So if you head out into the 17 runs of the Hillsborough River, not knowing what you're doing,
don't do it.
You could be on the news. There are, now that being said, there are guided tours you can take. There's a site called canoeescape.com, and there's a location called they have an actual location. We've rented kayaks and canoes from this place, Canoe Escape, and they do offer guided tours through here. And if you have a bit of a hankering for a challenge, you can do this. Their site is funny. It's just like, do not wear new clothes, get ready to get as muddy and dirty as possible. It's going to be strenuous, it's going to be rough.
Wow.
But imagine the feeling that you could get from doing that, right? That might be kind of fun.
Do you think anyone watching is seeing this as like a recommendation to do it? And then they're going to be stuck in the middle of the 17 runs on the Hillsborough River and be like, I heard about it from a podcast called Sunshine State of Mind, and they said to go do it. So I'm just saying, for the record, don't do it.
I wouldn't recommend doing it alone.
Don't do it.
But
don't do it.
There's a tour. You can take a tour.
Don't do it.
I just said, if you don't, pay attention to the sign, you're going to end up on the news.
Man. Yeah.
Wow. So that's I
think I'm going to skip that one.
Which of these would you do? You've already done Hudson Grotto.
I've done Hudson Grotto. I also did your first one. What was the first one?
What was my first one? Oh, Lake Jessup. Well,
yeah.
We've been there. We didn't take the tour at night.
We didn't do the night tour, but I have been to Lake Jessup. So I definitely do those two.
I would do that. I'd pop into Grindhouse video to see what that's about.
Yeah, I would do that too.
17 runs in Hillsborough River.
Definitely not.
I would do it with if I had the right mindset, maybe the right group of people. If I was with a group of guys that said, let's do something stupid, but with a guide, and we knew we were going to get out alive.
Yeah.
I could see a scenario where I did that, but probably not. And
there's several that I wouldn't do on your list.
The Eagle's Nest I would never do in a million years. Not even if I have no interest in that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. But I would do every single thing on my list. Yeah, every one.
Because your list isn't scary.
No, it is scary. It's just scary cool, not scary death defying.
Well, ziplining over gators, yeah. Depending on who you are.
Yeah, none of mine are are like I said, they're all controlled, adrenaline rushes, kind of like bungee jumping, Yeah. It's designed to keep you safe.
I'm just nodding my head
that's what I like. I like to be safe.
Now, if it was a rope course over gators, you would never catch me on that. That would be scary for me.
Well, see, that's the thing. How are you going to get up to the zip line? Because you couldn't even get up the zip line. It's
just regular stairs, right?
I know, but you couldn't get up the ropes course to get to the zip line at the Museum of Science and Industry.
One of my least proud moments of all time was on the ropes course at Mosey, the Museum of Science and Industry in Tampa, and I made it to the second level.
Did you? Did you really make it to the second
level?
level?
And I chickened out. I finished when I got to the second level, I was like, yep, I can't do this. I had this.
And then the girl, as you were leaving, said, you were like, yeah, I couldn't do that. And she said, well, at least you didn't cry. Some people cry.
Some people cry. He said some people get stuck up there. They just like freeze in terror. I just looked down and it was maybe 30 feet, but for me, it looked like an infinity. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm coming back down. And you went to like the bathroom or something and missed it.
Yeah, I missed the whole thing.
You missed it.
I didn't go to the bathroom. The kids had to go to the bathroom. So I missed your, one tiered ropes course adventure.
That was it for me. So yeah, if you can get Gatorland to do that over ropes course over gators,
not happening.
That'd be number one on my list. I would do it before I did the Eagle's Nest and went scuba diving in 300 feet under a cave.
Too funny.
And that's like insanity right there.
Good times.
All right, bye bye everybody.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you like this podcast, please support us by giving us a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing us with your friends and family. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, or pretty much anywhere you download a podcast. Another more direct way you can support the show is by visiting our website, sunshinestatepodcast.com, and clicking through on the button that says Become a Patron. It's a safe and secure way you can support the show, and there are different levels, some of which will give you bonus content and even qualify you as an advertiser on the show. There's also an Amazon link on our webpage. If you click through on that link and just make your normal purchases, Amazon gives a commission to the show at no cost to you. You can also follow us on Twitter or Facebook. Our handle is @FloridaPodcast, or search Sunshine State of Mind on YouTube. And be sure to check out our website at sunshinestatepodcast.com. We'll see you next time.